I will give you my feedback.
Do you have a remote down here,
I will
Ron?
respect your decision as the boss and move on.
Do you have a remote down here?
Yeah, for the project.
Can everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
States to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, we have a quorum and call this meeting to order at 8:33 PM. Please call the roll.
Councilman Schwartz. Councilwoman Belcher.
Here.
Councilwoman Goldberg.
Here.
Councilwoman Organ.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Katz. Deputy Mayor G.
Here.
Mayor Pagan.
Here.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by public notice issued on Friday, May 24th, 2024, sending a copy to the newspapers officially designated for 2024 by way of resolution number 2-2024, filing a copy of the Township Clerk's office and posting it on the municipal building bulletin board, and the mayor hereby directs that the statement be included in the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Good evening and welcome everyone to tonight's special council meeting. Township Administration present at tonight's meeting are Dean Kaczynski, our Township Manager, Doug Roussillon, our Township Clerk, Michael Ash, one of our Township Attorneys, and Ron Goodman, our volunteer cablecaster. For the public's information, we are currently holding a hybrid format meeting. We have people in person and on Zoom. If our Wi-Fi at the municipal building has an issue where the Zoom meeting drops, we will aim to retrieve the connection and recontinue the meeting. The next televised regular council meeting is on June 18th, and it begins at 6:30 PM with the public portion of that meeting beginning at 8 PM. We are meeting this evening to continue Township Manager interviews. For this purpose, good and welfare will be limited to only 30 minutes tonight. Early voting is currently taking place at the Rhoda Center, and the last day for early voting is on Sunday, and that ends at 6 PM on Sunday. Primary election day is on Tuesday, June 4th, so please remember to vote. And as a friendly reminder, the township still has our mail-in ballot drop box outside the municipal building, which is open until 8 PM on election night. We are having a pride flag raising at Votee Park on Sunday, June 2nd at 1:30 PM. And we are also having a Race Amity Day celebration at the Votee Park Band Shell on Sunday, June 19th at 1:30 PM. And please email clerk@tnecnj.gov if your group would like to march in the upcoming 4th of July parade. Council will meet in closed session later this evening to discuss the following: Township Manager interviews, legal issues and opinions regarding items on the open session agenda, and litigation updates. And our first order of business is good and welfare. So any member of the public wishing to be heard at this time will be called on and will come forward, and please state their names for the record. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person. And if you are on Zoom, please list your first name and your last name so our clerk can call on you. And please turn your camera on while speaking if you are on Zoom. And please note that good and welfare would only last 30 minutes today. Who would like to speak first? Anyone in chambers? Seeing no hands, Mr. Roussillon, is there anyone on Zoom?
Bringing in Laverne Lightburn.
Well,
Hello, Laverne. Hi, Laverne. Can you hear us? You have 3 minutes. Laverne.
Laverne, can you hear us, ma'am?
She muted herself. 3 minutes, Laverne. Can you hear us? Laverne, give us a nod. What are you doing, Laverne? What are you doing?
Laverne, we see you smoking, but we don't hear you talking. You're on
All right,
mute.
I'm just going to stop your video real quick. I have Gail here. Also, Gail, you have 3 minutes. Feel free to unmute. Gail, please unmute.
Hello, can you hear
Hi,
me?
you have 3 minutes, Gail.
Okay, I was just wondering what the story is about this meeting and how it was called, if people could answer that, if is the public required to be informed about what the purpose of the meeting is? And if so, I couldn't tell what the purpose of this meeting was. So I don't know why people would come to it if there really is nothing on the agenda. So I think that there's a problem with transparency here. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't understand how people could really be in the democratic process if they don't have the information in order to speak their mind. Because right now we're speaking our mind about nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone in chambers? Seeing no hands, Mr. Roussillon, someone on Zoom?
Laverne, please unmute.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. You have 3 minutes.
Wait. Don't start my minutes yet. It says you cannot start your video because the host has stopped it.
Okay, I think.
Ms.
Okay, hang
Lightburn,
on.
you
Yeah,
have
hang
3
on.
minutes, ma'am.
I just,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
there she is. There you are. 3 minutes.
Hello, how are you? Well, I know you're getting ready to vote about the chickens, but I would like someone to please explain to me if we had already voted against it, why is it back on the table? And as of last week, we had the Washington Post, the LA Times, and the New York Times, the Newsweek, U.S. Department of Agriculture, the CDC. Everyone is sounding the alarm about the avian flu. And the scientists in New York at the Mount Sinai found that it's a high contagious bird flu going on in some of the cities. While I understand it's low in New Jersey, I just don't understand why TNEC has feels that we need to implement this with such a large amount of coops without housings being so close to each other. I don't, if you're insisting on doing this, then I really don't understand. Consider putting it like how we have the garden clubs where people can actually go and do vegetables outside of their property lines. So at this point, I just wanted to bring up again that they have detected 6 viruses in the birds that are in the New York City area. And while maybe in 2022 was the last time New Jersey got hit, but we got hit down in Monmouth County, and we did have some in Bergen County. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. And if we're dealing with politics, if you all are supposed to be dealing for the whole community and our safety, we shouldn't just be voting because somebody came in with their child and said, and we think that they're cute and we want to put these chickens in. So I'm just want to put it on record that it's unhealthy. I don't know how you're working against. I really don't know. I would like to sit down with the health inspector to understand what we're doing because she has now changed her ruling. So that's really all I have to say when it comes to that. I just want it on record.
Thank you, Ms. Lightburn.
Thank you.
Mr. Rose.
Howard Rose, Teaneck resident. Former speaker brought to mind a thought regarding chickens, and I'm wondering if you can add to whatever amendment. I'm not for or against them. I don't want them in my backyard, and I'd rather they not be in my neighbor's backyard. So I'm wondering if you can add to that a statement to whatever ordinance you pass that there must also be on the granting of that site as a chicken farm, consent of all contiguous neighbors.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Doug, someone on Zoom? Anybody else in chambers want to speak? Dr. Powers.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can we let people know the purpose of the meeting so they understand?
Yeah, it was, I was going to mention that at the end of Good and Welfare, but this special council meeting was noticed publicly, and it is for council to hold second round interviews for a new township manager. So after Good and Welfare, we're going to be asking everybody to leave because we're going to be interviewing several candidates to succeed Dean, who we're going to miss so much. Sir, 3 minutes.
One of the responsibilities of any township is to make sure that the neighboring communities know what is happening, particularly when redevelopment plans directly affect those other communities. This is a notice of a meeting held earlier this evening, called by former mayor of Englewood, Frank Huddle. And that is a picture, many of you may know, of how the new apartment house directly across from Margaret Baker's house looks from people who live in Englewood on Tietzen. They don't like very much the fact that, and they are finding out, not only does that facility at 329, which took away the residential property that was directly across from Margaret's home, but that there is another equally large apartment house fully prepared to go ahead and directly butt up against their park. And apparently you folks are looking at some cannabis facility, which would be also in that same direction. It's extremely important. In fact, the state statutes very much encourage that communities reach out to their neighboring communities and make sure that what is being done in your own community does not adversely affect contiguous communities. This is an example of this is being held at the Englewood PAC tonight, and it's all about this facility and similar developments within Englewood. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Powers. Anyone on Zoom, Doug? Anyone else on, sir?
My name is David Schwartz. I live at 911 Teaneck Road. I want to talk about the new traffic pattern on Teaneck Road since they paved the road. I live at 911 Teaneck Road. It's on the curve, and there's a driveway. That's a blind driveway when they come around, and the cars come around the curve at 30, 35 miles an hour, and it's very difficult to get out of the driveway. In fact, I've almost been hit myself at least once, and other residents in my building also are having a tough time getting out of the driveway. So is it possible to get a flashing sign, hidden driveway, 20 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour? Okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Anyone else in chambers? Yes, Ms. Baker.
Margaret Baker, Teaneck resident. Well, I guess I'm a Teaneck resident. I'm just as much an Englewood resident. That meeting that they're having at the PAC tonight, I was asked to speak at that meeting. And I didn't go because I wanted to come here. There's a problem with communication with the two towns. We are right across the street from each other, and they have no idea of what's going on. So I get to be the sounding board. And I'm not going to do it. They can see what they see, and I have given them the number to call the town. They're very upset, that I can tell you. And I get, well, Margaret, why didn't you let us know? Hold on. Margaret didn't know about half of this. Bits and pieces I'm still putting together. And it's not a jigsaw puzzle anymore. It's past that. It's connect the dots. And I have a big board, and I have connected the dots. In my mind, there were a lot of things that were run through in a certain period of time. And nobody knew. So everybody figures, I know because I live there. We're all in the same boat. I don't know. I don't know when it's gonna open or anything else. And believe me, that developer out there is a piece of work. So he stays there, I stay on my side. Not a word. It's just like they came out there, kind of like what the town did to the residents out there. We don't matter. I'm going to do what I want to do. And the developer out there, he thinks he owns the block. He controls the block, which he doesn't. He controls the land where he's building. And I want to make this for the record. There
Thank you, Ms.
was
Baker.
a house at
Thank you, Ms. Baker.
1085
Your time is
Decatur
up, ma'am.
Avenue.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Your time is up. Thank you so much. Anyone else in chambers want to speak? Doug, anyone on Zoom? No? In that case, good and welfare is now closed. Mr. Schwartz, you came in a little late, so I'm going to start with Denise, if that's all right, and then I'll come back to you. Ms. Belcher.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out and speaking and sharing with you what thoughts you have and important things that are on your mind. I just want to mention a couple quick things in response to Alfred Avenue, Ms. Baker and Dr. Powers. I totally agree with you that communication with neighbors is vitally important. Communicating with Englewood, especially the residents that are so very, very close to that development. And I think that it's so important because it helps to make sure that we keep good relationships like shared service agreements with our neighbors. Okay. So essentially I would say going forward, I would like to think that any new development plans, we would certainly include our neighbors coming together as leaders. I think it's vitally important to at least have that kind of dialogue. So thank you for bringing that to everyone's attention. I think it's vitally important that we communicate with our neighbors on a regular basis.
Thank you, Ms. Belcher. Ms. Organ? No? Ms. Goldberg?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a quick, thank you to people that came out. Laverne, I think that we addressed the meeting. Tonight's meeting is about the closed session for the manager interviews. So the public hearing on chickens, I think, will be the next meeting. For Mr. Schwartz, I'm gonna take a look at that property. I don't know, Dean, can we take a look at the flashing sign request, or I don't know what that?
Yeah, it's obviously the county roadway, so I'll have you reach out. Request.
Yep. And Mrs. Baker, I just wanted to say thank you for coming out, and you can always reach out to me, and I'm gonna give you a call and find out what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Goldberg. Mr. Schwartz? Mr. Katz? Pats. Ms. G.
Just also wanted to say thank you to everyone for coming out. Ms. Baker, it's always great to hear from you. Thank you for always being such a vocal advocate for you and your neighbors. I'm hopeful that all the advocacy you've done will not go in vain in terms of future development, as Councilwoman Belcher mentioned earlier. As we wrap up the master plan and we look at new development, I hope that we make it one of our best practices to reach out to our neighbors, reach out to neighboring communities, towns, to ensure that we're being good partners and neighbors ourselves. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. G. Ms. Lightburn, thank you for putting your opinion on chickens in backyards on the record. Mr. Rose, thank you also for always joining us and guiding us with your comments on everything we do. Dr. Powers and Ms. Baker, I actually really like the idea of that mailing in Englewood. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, and I'll look into seeing if that's something that we can also do in Teaneck going forward. Mr. Schwartz, thank you for letting us know about that particular concern on that new traffic pattern. I actually also work for the county engineering department, so I will bring that up with them as well. So maybe me, Dean, and Hillary can tag team on that. And I think that's it for good and welfare, right? So I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to ask everyone to leave because we are going to conduct some personnel interviews in search of a new manager. So thank you everyone so very much for joining us, and we hope you have a peaceful evening.
Are you coming back into open session?
We will have to adjourn the meeting, yes. When that will be is very uncertain.
Is there likely to be some announcement, or are you just gonna close the meeting?
I'd be doing it on Zoom. I will be doing it on Zoom.
No, but couldn't it be an announcement?
We don't know yet.
Like,
We really don't know yet, Mr. Orr. Yeah, we don't know yet. We have to do interviews. We don't know yet because we have to do interviews. I know, but we don't know yet. We have to see how the interviews go. Anything is possible, but we're not sure. We're not sure yet. Anything is possible, but we're not sure yet. Yes. Probably, if something were to happen, yes. Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, we have to go on to the consent agenda. Everyone, if I can have everyone's attention, please. If I can have everyone's attention, please, we have to move on to the consent agenda. So all matters on the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature by council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If any discussion is desired by council, that particular item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Doug, you mind?
Yes, council, we are considering this evening resolution 172-2024, authorizing council enter into closed session to hold further township manager interviews. Is there a first?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Thank
Voice
you.
vote
The
agreement.
ayes have
Thank
it.
you. We'll be back later on this evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Check 1, 2. Good evening, residents, council. It is now 10:28 p.m. Our township council has exited closed session and we are resuming open session.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We have returned to open session like the clerk said, and we are giving the township manager direction to make a conditional offer manager to the candidate we discussed earlier this evening. And so you'll do that tomorrow, sir?
Yes, Mayor, I will.
Thank you. I think that is the last order of business, unless anyone wants to say anything before I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you, everyone, for tonight, and have a peaceful evening.